Messi still wants Neymar to join the UCL newcomers, keep the dream alive. Ronaldo appoints the future of football, transfer roundup, and this week's power rankings all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, you are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First up, and in the wake of all the scandal that's been surrounding Barcelona in the last few weeks, Lionel Messi has come out and actually spoken about some players as well, just to take all the attention off the fact that the Barcelona president and the club have been up to something a little bit dodgy. Lionel Messi has said that he still wants Neymar to return to the new camp. I don't know about you guys, but literally any other player in the world, if they were to talk about another player at another club, they'd probably be shut down or there'd be loads of transfer rumours. But now it's just become so obvious that Neymar wants to return to Barca. Barcelona want Neymar to return, so Messi could just have massive interviews talking about it. He's gone on to say, like he always does, that Neymar's one of the best in the world and they want one of the best in the world to fight alongside them for the Champions League. This isn't exclusive though to Neymar. He's also gone to speak about Lautaro Martinez at Inter Milan, saying that he has similar types of qualities to Luis Suarez and again, he'd also love to have him at the new camp. He literally is talking about it with complete disregard for the club's finances, although with the kind of power that Messi holds, I wouldn't put it past him knowing actually how much money Barcelona have. Anyway, like we've seen it all before, as soon as the summer comes around, there'll be plenty more news on Neymar. Plenty more news about him leaving PSG, about him rejoining Barcelona. God knows what's going to happen at this stage. He'll probably end up going somewhere else like Juve and being best mates with Ronaldo. Anyway, we're on to Ronaldo a little bit later, but first off to last night's Champions League action where two newcomers to the knockout stages are keeping the dream alive. First off, and Leipzig put themselves in an excellent position to go through to the quarterfinals after beating a rather toothless Spurs 1-0. It was everything you'd expect from the game. Leipzig are a brilliant attacking team and could have had 3 or 4 goals. Tottenham are a team without their two best attackers, 2 of the best attackers in Europe at the moment in Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. So it was rather obvious that when they got the ball forward, they weren't going to do anything with it. I mean, this was a Leipzig team who had 3 centre-backs missing and who were playing 2 full-backs in the middle of a back 3. And still, Spurs really couldn't manage much. Dele Alli shocking as usual. Lucas Berg, Van der Celso and Lamela all tried their hardest, but nothing was to come of it. It is going to have to be a monumental turnaround for Jose Mourinho's side if they're to get through. Also, Julian Nagelsmann became the youngest manager ever to take charge of a knockout stage match. But that wasn't the important game of the night. The important game was Atalanta beating Valencia 4-1. The guys are just unbelievable. They're their very own fairy tale, and in my opinion, it's even more surprising than Ajax last season. Ajax are known for their dominance in the Eredivisie. They're winning the title all the time. Well, switching between them, PSG and Feyenoord. But with Atalanta, they've only won 1 trophy in their whole history. They finished 3rd last season. I mean, everything just seems to go right for them at the moment. Yes, they may have got the quote-unquote easier draw in Valencia, but they still put them away 4-1. Even Hans Hatterborn grabbed the double. Unbelievable stuff. You can't see Valencia turning this around in the second leg, meaning that Atalanta will be in the quarter-finals. Incredible stuff. How far, though, do you think they can go? Gonna leave a poll about here so you can say how far you think the Italians will make it. But moving on next and to Cristiano Ronaldo, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, who is actually appointed the new present and future of football. That is Kylian Mbappe. No pressure. We all know that basically when this Ronaldo-Messi era comes to an end, everyone's going to be looking for the next matchup, the next duo, the next battle. But apparently, according to Ronaldo, I'm also inclined to believe it as well, there will be no battle. There just won't be. It will be Mbappe against the world. He'll just be the greatest goal scorer, the best player, and I'm sure he'll win multiple Ballon d'Ors in the next decade and beyond. He is that good of a player, that young. Of course, there are other players who could go on to be great and who are great at the moment. Erling Haaland, definitely one of them. I think João Felix will eventually come good. Of course, there's a million other players that you'll let me know in the comment section down below. I'm not missing them out. I'm just not going to sit here and reel off a list of all the best players in the world. Trent Alexander-Arnold, there's another one. There will be great players, but Ronaldo's pretty much got it spot on, and you'd be a fool to back against Mbappe doing what he's doing for the next 10 to 15 years. Plus, if Cristiano Ronaldo says that he knows a thing or two about being great. So next, to round up with the rest of the day's transfer news, Mauro Icardi's agent Wanda Nara says she doesn't know whether or not the striker will be at Paris come the end of the transfer window, amid reports linking him with a move to Juventus. Pep Guardiola said last night after his side's 2-0 win over West Ham that he will be sticking with the club. whatever the outcome of the UEFA sanction. Arsenal were interested in Bayer Leverkusen defender Jonathan Tah for around 40 million euros. And lastly but not least, Erik ten Hag is really hoping that he can keep Donny van de Beek at the club amid interest from Real Madrid and Manchester United. Welcome to the Onefootball Power Rankings. This is where we make a list of the top 10 players in Europe based on their last 5 games in the Champions League or Europa League and their domestic division. We're not talking about the cups, we're talking about the top 10 best players from around Europe. So with their last 5 games in mind, let's take a look at who makes it in from numbers 10 till 6. There's actually a few defenders on the list this week. Harry Maguire is in at number 10 with his defensive partner Aaron Wan-Bissaka at number 9. Thomas Muller's form sees him in at 8. Rafael Guerreiro is in at 7, and the magician Kevin De Bruyne sits in at number 6. On to the top 5 though, and in number 5, it's Thiago again. He's always there or thereabouts, and it's actually quite rare that you see him in the power rankings because what he does goes so unnoticed. He keeps Bayern ticking, he does everything well in their midfield and allows them to go forward and score the hat full of goals. Thiago's passing has been sensational this season, and he is still one of the best central midfielders in Europe. On top of this, he's also got 3 goals in the last 5, but that isn't as many as number 4, his teammate Robert Lewandowski. 5 goals in the last 5 games, and the Polish striker just cannot stop hitting the back of the net. Inevitably, when Bayern win and they score loads of goals, he will be on the score sheet. That is what keeps him up near the top of the power rankings. Number 3 though, and it's Josip Ilicic, who mentioned earlier about how our Atalanta are doing, and it's in no part down to the enigmatic 32-year-old who is now in the form of his life. He hasn't always been, but he's really come good recently in making the most of his talents. In fact, in the last 5 games, Atalanta are unbeaten. They've won 4 of them, drew 1, and Ilicic has 5 goals. Along with this, he has 4 man of the match performance and did ever so well as they beat Valencia 4-1. So finally, we come to the last 2. You guys know how it's done. We set out both cases for both players, and then finally, I'll bring you the result of who is the king of the power rankings this week. First up, and we have the challenger to the number 1 spot, it's Erling Haaland. Of course it is. He's scoring so many goals, and his double against PSG as he swept aside the French champions means he now has 7 in his last 5. He's also got 11 in his first 7 games for Dortmund. Whenever the ball is in and around the box and Haaland's got it, you could pretty much expect the ball is going to hit the back of the net. He's got to be doing this consistently to really show that he is one of the greatest in Europe, but he is well on his way. And in his first 2 games at Dortmund, he literally couldn't have done any more. But one player he's got to look up to is the player he's going to be facing for the power rankings crown this week. That is last week's number 1, Lionel Messi. He knows a thing or two about being consistent over a long period of time, so Haaland's definitely got to look up to him, even though they're not necessarily the same style of player. Lionel Messi has assisted 7 of Barcelona's last 8 goals in La Liga, and obviously they didn't play in the Champions League this week. This fine form has seen him once again challenging for the top spot, as he's literally carrying Barcelona through this very tough patch. So with that said and done, I can reveal that the number 1 this week is Lionel Messi. Of course it is only just ahead of Haaland, but when you're in the kind of form that Messi's in, it's very hard to say otherwise. His stats have been incredible. He's helping Barcelona through this tough period, and he deserves to be at number 1. So there you have it, that's all from me. Let me know your thoughts on the power rankings and the rest of today's daily news in the comment section below. Whilst you're there, hit the like button if you will, and make sure you click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.